Hey, what's up guys? This is a quick tip with MUIRO. Wanted to go over how you can duplicate your master output signal from Ableton or any other DAW and send it into your streaming and broadcasting software such as OBS Studio. Obviously, streaming is becoming much more prevalent. This is kind of a handy trick to know, and it also has other implications in terms of once you start working with other artists. Many times they'll want their own custom headphone mix, and so this is essentially how you go about giving them that. So Ableton can send signals in and out through your audio interface, but OBS Studio is only able to pick up incoming signals from your ASIO audio interface. So you can use virtual cables such as Soundflower if you're on a Mac, and there are some other programs for PCs, but I've found that at least on the PC side, I've experienced some latency issues in the middle of a live stream using those virtual cables. Therefore, I think the best way to go about this is by making a hardwire connection. So that's essentially taking two patch cables and plugging them in from your second pair of line outs on your audio interface and looping them back into the same line in on the interface. So I have a complete audio 6, therefore there are 6 channels in and 6 channels out. Channels out 1 and 2 are going to my speakers, and channels 3 and 4 are what I'm going to be using. So you will be limited to your capabilities of your audio interface, but as long as you have a secondary pair of stereo outs, even if that is SPDIF outputs and you get an SPDIF cable, you can loop your signal back in on itself so that OSB Studio can pick it up. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. You can take an external audio effect and throw it onto your master channel, and then group that and duplicate the chain. So you split the signal through your 2 chains here. Let's rename one chain 1/2, and then the other chain 3/4. So channels 1/2, the audio 2, we're going to send that to our speakers on 1 and 2, and then our output on 3 and 4, we're going to send that to 3 and 4. Now, again, keep in mind, I have actual cables plugged in to channels 3 and 4 out, and they are looping and plugged back into channels 3 and 4 in. So now when I hit play, you can see a signal, and you can also see that OBS Studio is picking up that signal, and obviously you guys on the other end of the video are hearing that. However, the issue is that you have lost control or lost sight of your metering here on your master channel through this way. However, I wanted to show it to you guys just in case you can find some other uses for this. So when I turn this off and I hit play, you can see that there's a signal coming through here. We're peaking at minus 17.5 dBFS, but you guys can't hear that on the other end. And when I turn this back on, you can hear it, but no metering. So I think a better way to go about this is if you take a new audio track and route your signal out that way. So let's go audio from the master and then send it to an external out and send it to channels 3 and 4. And obviously you see I have 5 and 6 as well with my complete audio 6, but I'm just using 3 and 4 since that's where my cables are plugged in right now. So now, as long as the track is armed and you hit auto for monitoring, now when I hit play, you can still monitor, and obviously you guys are picking up the signal over in OBS Studio. So this is actually how you create a submix for your performers, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So typically I would do a submix over headphones through send channels, and I would use just a audio channel itself for duplicating the signal. Now, whether you use a send track or this duplicate audio channel, you obviously have a fader here, which is cool because then you can adjust the volume going to that submix or that set of headphones. So if I were to set up a submix, I would typically use a return track, and we'll use return track E here, and say my vocalist really wants to hear the melody all the way through, as well as the chords, but you know, they don't really need to hear as much of the perk, and they don't really need to hear as much of the kick and the bass. So now I put audio 2 external out on channel E, 2, 3, and 4. Let's rename this and say 3, 4 headphone submix, headphone mix. And instead of looping your cables back into your interface in this situation, you would essentially have like a Y cable go into a headphone amplifier, and then your performer would plug into your headphone amplifier. So now when I hit play, you guys will hear what the 3-4 headphone will hear, but me, the engineer, I will hear the entire mix. So we'll be hearing different things when I hit play. And obviously, as the engineer, you just want to hear how everything sits in the entire mix, where your performer, like I said, might want to hear themselves louder, as well as the melody more than your kick and bass, so that they can match pitch a little easier. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Just a quick tip about signal flow and how you can create submixes, and also duplicate your signal into streaming platforms. Obviously, over here in OBS Studio, you would create a new source, and obviously if you're on your PC and you're using an ASIO driver, you'd add your driver here, and obviously you set up your audio interface, and then select what channels you're going to be using, and where that hardwire connection is. Like I said, you can look into a virtual cable option as well, but I find hardware cables are the most reliable. So if you liked this video and would like more tips like it, give me a like and a follow, and happy music making.